Hi everybody and welcome to Adobe Live. I'm here with Bigeni in part 2 of our session. We'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today. We would also like to pay our respects to elders past and present. That's an acknowledgement of country. If you're not from Australia or you want to find out more about what that is, Johanna will leave a link in the Behance chat for you today. What is up, Dale? Thanks for coming back for part 2.
Thank you, Flynn.
You guys might hear some background noise here. They've decided to dig up the road in front of me, so I might be like playing with my microphone dial a little bit today. So if I'm a little bit quiet, that's why. What's up? Johanna in the chat, Steve, Mercurial. We also have Sydney. What's up? We're both from Sydney, so we're streaming from Sydney today. It's lovely to have you here. Let us know where you're from. It's always great to find out where you guys are from, where you're tuning in from. I know Festus is in Wellington. I've got RB in the house. Great to see you here for part 2. We're here for an hour and we're going to be picking up where we left off yesterday, creating album artwork. So we had a little bit of fun with chat. You guys were awesome. Dale and I were having a chat afterwards, like really impressive, like the amount of ideas and creativity you guys had. Some amazing band names came up in chat and we got to some pretty good ones. What was it? It was Cranial Blush?
Cranium Blush.
Cranium Blush, yeah.
And the road to, I'm not even going to try to say it, road to Rosella Ruination? Is that?
Yeah,
that's it. Got it.
That's it. We might be blessed by the Rosellas today as well because they might be going for a bus. I'll let you know when they come in and tune in as well. Frank in the house as well. It's great to see you. So if you're watching anywhere else, if you're watching over on YouTube, if you're watching the live show, you can ask questions over at behance.net/live. We're here for an hour and you can ask us questions. We might ask for your input into the design. But yeah, why don't we move over, Dale, to your desktop and we'll have a bit of a recap of what we did. So
awesome.
Yeah, jumping over now.
All right, cool. Well, so for those who weren't here yesterday, we spoke about kind of like a little bit of an overview of album artwork and kind of considerations and things like that. And then I just walked through a bit of the process, I guess. We could just say that. So we spoke a little bit about concepts and how many concepts we do and how rough they are and, you know, the purpose of them. But you can tune into the video from yesterday, the stream from yesterday, if you want a full recap. Then we spoke about refining the artwork and giving the client a better overview of what that design may or may look like. We spoke about, what else did we speak about? The text and kind of options for text and things like that. But then we got to the fun part and we got to kind of just like, we had our little guides set up.
We have our grid here. Yeah, we're talking a little bit as well about like the idea of creating artwork that doesn't necessarily bleed. It's something you kind of intrinsically do, but also if you have this kind of thing, like this shape that is locked up, you can apply it to lots of things. So I think something for us all to consider, like it's something we certainly think about with design and obviously also illustration. Like if you wanted to take this and make it a sticker, put some outlines on it, it could be a die cut. If you wanted, you could put it into a shape or a circle, put it on a shirt, you could reuse the elements. And I think that's really useful, like the way that you create your work, that you can
absolutely
like use it for multiple things.
Well, and I don't think it's like being like lazy or like you're cutting any corners. I think you're actually thinking past the initial design and its purpose, I guess. Like, yeah, sure, it's great to do an amazing artwork, but this does help. Like you said, it lends itself to so many different forms of media that it can go on. So this is kind of where we got to. Actually, no, I lie. We had it a little bit less, and I overnight just put a few more details in it. So we kind of got our blacks in and we're ready to talk about like the typography and start coloring and kind of finishing it in the hour we've got. So yeah, I reckon we'll just start kind of getting into that side of it. So illustration's pretty much, it's inked enough that I think we could just start applying color, but I might just talk about the text component.
Cool.
There's a couple of ways that, so obviously yesterday I had a different layout for this. I was going to work on the text being up in this area up the top. I've gone and done this instead, and I want to run it underneath a little bit smaller, and the the album title is going to go here underneath it. So
Nice.
basically what I've got here, these are both fonts that I currently, well, I own on my computer. I've done some videos about this in the past where I like to use typography and fonts that other artists create, like, because I do like the shapes in their fonts and things like that, but I will redraw the fonts most of the time and kind of craft them to be my own, if that makes any sense. So these little text, sorry, I've got these in a folder, and I've strategically placed our spider web over the middle of the M to integrate the spider into the text.
And what fonts did you choose there? Can we see what they are, or have you outlined them already?
Oh, they're outlined already.
Outlined.
This is Ransom from Letterhead Fonts, and this is what's this called? Oh no, the blush one. Sorry, I can tell you the blush one is it's called Backsword. I'm gonna assume this one looks like a DeFont one. To be honest, it looks like it's. I like the brush script, but like I said, I usually use this just for like the bones of the typography, and then I'd probably change it wherever I see fit. But so I was just gonna go through. So basically, like if I've got these, let's just. I'm just gonna type in. I'm going to do another example of this. Sorry, I accidentally hit save. Sorry.
It's all right. It's important to save. We learned that yesterday, didn't we? For me, not for you. I think it's really interesting, like the thought of like pushing the type a little bit further and using the fonts as the bones of what we're going to see here. Like like even for designers, like the designers out there, like I think it's so important to try to make it your own, particularly when like it's not a logo, but like it's part of this lockup, and pushing like a standard font that bit further to integrate it within the artwork, just like it ties it so well together, and it also makes it much more your own, like a much more personal, much more personal to the brand and the client and everything. So
I also think it makes it fit into the piece a little bit better. Like you can kind of get the same sort of line weights and stuff. Like I know there's a lot of fonts out there now, like there's millions of them, but it doesn't even have to be like using these ones that are already ornate or script. Like you can just use, I'm going to just switch off the one that I've got there. Alright, so if I've got this font, even if you use like a base font like that, we know this is Bebas, however you say it. And then all I do is like I grab the font and I'll just rasterize it. And then I just warp it with the warp tool. However you wish. I just do this, like this seems like a pretty generic like letter form to do this to anyway, but so with the warp tool I'll just like, okay, so that's kind of the shape I want. With the warp tool it does get a little bit tricky, like trying to pull down these parts, sometimes it drops letters too far, so I'm not too concerned about that because I know I'm gonna go in and create my own type off it. So this is now my bones for it, and I would, this is going to be off the cuff kind of. It's very much like a freestyle right now, so I'm not really knowing what I'm doing. I'm just going to do this real quick. So I've got the letter there, and now, like I might go in and just add like using it. I guess because not everyone's comfortable with typography either. Like that's an art form in itself, right? So there's a lot to consider, but at least this way you can kind of like, and I know it's very rough, but like you can create like your own letters, add your serifs on wherever you want them. Maybe you want like this stuff. So I just like rough it in over the top of it. So it's basically creating this new, like it's still got parts of that font.
Yeah.
So it's definitely still using like, it's got the curves of this original font, but maybe you can add like these little things, and then I'll just fill it in.
I mean, as you said, like as you said, it's like using the bones, and typography is its own art form. Like the distance between, I know we've kind of warped it quite a bit, but the distance between the letters, the negative space, the relationship like between the letters for the particular font has probably been worked on for hundreds and hundreds of hours to get it right. So like if you, even if you're a fantastic designer, just off the top of your head, if you're just drawing it from scratch, you're probably gonna have to spend a really long time to make it legible and everything. But if you start with that base font, you got those bones in, and then you customize it, like it's much faster, and you know that it's going to be pretty close to legible, even if you kind of freestyle on it quite a bit.
Yeah, because I mean, I would go in and I'll probably I'm adding. So this is not the font we're using, but I'm just trying to prove a point that I've used this original font for the bones, but you can already see it's completely, like it feels completely different to looking at that. And like you said, that the kerning and like the leading that they put into these fonts is important, because like you do want it to be legible. And as a designer, I think you need to be conscious of like design principles and rules. Like it's a part of the job, right?
Yeah. So
to have this as my starting point, I feel comfortable that I can go in and craft something from that. I don't really know if there's a rule against that. Like, I wouldn't call it stealing. I more than I am like, I don't know, using it, like utilizing it as a tool, like as a guide. I would never claim it. Like I would never put that down and go, yeah, I did that font myself just because I warped it. Like I definitely did not. Like it's just a generic font. So
yeah. I mean, these tools are here to like help us out, right? Like to save us time. It's like that. There's like a billion fonts in Adobe Fonts now. It's crazy, like how big that library is. But yeah, like it's meant to speed up the process and help us to create like legible professional work in a kind of quick way. Festus says, "Nice spider." I love that spider too. And Jeremy has a question in chat as well. Would you normally work fonts in Photoshop or Illustrator?
Well, that depends. I would usually just, if this whole piece is in Photoshop, I just do it in here. Like I'd rather just stay in one spot for the whole project.
Right.
It kind of depends where I intend on taking it, I guess. So I'm just gonna try to talk and do this as quick as possible.
Yeah, cool. So it's always the challenge with the stream. It's like I'm gonna ask you some questions while you're
that's
focusing really hard.
So you can see I'm kind of like, it's not changing a lot, but some of the like, maybe I'm not really feeling the way it goes curves here like that. So I'm just like switching that, and we're just going to give it a little bit of this because it's meant to be like an edgy, this is alternative rock, this band.
That's right. It's like the opposite of the background music you're hearing right now.
Oh no, that was their first single.
Took them a while to find their groove, huh? Find their sound. So yeah, if you're just joining us here with Dale Bigeni, we're in part 2 of our 2-part series. We started yesterday, so if you want to go back and check that out, you can check that out on YouTube. I'm sure it's still up on Behance at the moment as well, if you want to just stay in Behance and check it out after this stream. And yeah, creating album artwork. Hello, Nick's in chat. Holla from Mexico. Hello, mate. Nice to see you. Love hearing where everybody's from. Super cool. Jeremy mentioned your giant Wacom before. We did have a bit of a shout out to that yesterday. It always comes up.
It gets so much love.
Yeah.
Alright, so I'm going as fast as possible here.
And so, chat, has anybody tried practicing this kind of thing before? Have you ever picked a font and tried to kind of like either draw over the top of it or try to make it your own? I know it was quite a popular thing a while ago of people sort of doing that. Like, how do you create, like, use a font to create a logo if you're not a typographer?
Yeah.
I know has always been quite a challenge. And people will often pick like a baseline font and then try to iterate on it in a way, or maybe you're trying to incorporate some of the personality of the logo into the negative space, or maybe you're changing one or two letters to kind of make it your own. I'm curious if anybody in chat has tried to do that before, and have you had success, or has it not
Yeah,
worked out?
I feel like a lot of people do it, right? Like I remember watching a few I don't know if it was live streams or just like people working on Instagram, and they were creating these logos, and I was always like really fascinated about their lettering and stuff like that. And
Mm,
they were just using normal typography, or sorry, normal fonts, just standard off the Mac, and they were just rounding the corners, like here, like
right.
they were just rounding things off, and it was making it look really like hand drawn. And I was always like, oh wow, so that's all that happened just then. I thought they were crafting fonts from scratch all the time.
Mm.
Apparently not. But look, everyone works different. This is what works for me.
It's always a way. There's lots of ways to work and lots of ways to do things.
Yeah,
Hello from Bulgaria. Lovely to have you. And peace from Libya. Hey, what's up? Lovely to have you guys here, guys or girls. Super cool. Jeremy said, I've done this a few times, and clients then asked me to give them the font I used.
yeah.
Not
I was gonna
understanding
say
that
this.
it ain't no font no more. Yeah, I guess that's a bit of a challenge. Could you give them the base font and say, well, it's based off this, but without all the bells and whistles?
Yeah, I've definitely done that before where they're like, oh, can you tell us the font? I'm like, I can't. I can tell you that it was based off this font. And they're usually pretty cool with it. And I think they can appreciate that it has been crafted, or it's a little bit different to, I guess, a standard font. It makes them feel like they're getting something special as well.
Yeah, that's true.
I think I say that a lot. I try to, and this is not to try to get any more business or be a good business, but I like to make sure that the client gets everything they're paying for, or like try to exceed their expectation. So you can
Here's
see
one. I think this comes up occasionally. Dale, would you ever consider making your own font?
that does come up a lot, and I reckon by now you think I would have come up with something. It's just like we were just saying before. There's a lot to consider when you're making a font, and it's like I know people that work on them. They work on them for almost years at some point.
Yep.
And I just think I don't know. I was just watching the intro to this live stream, and I was like, you know what? I want to learn how to animate, but I know I'm not gonna. It's kind of one of those things.
I met and kind of done some projects with some pretty talented people around here. Oh, you know what? I'm just going to turn my mic down for a second.
No, you're all right. All right, this is the Up by Dale show now. Flynn's gone. All right, so I'm gonna do the brush lettering. Blush, not brush, but anyway. Alright, so just really, really minor changes to this. It's a nice font. I just want it to own it a little bit more. I'm going to try to tuck this in behind some letters and over letters. So I'm pretty much using exactly the same curves and shapes here. Just adding a little bit of my own touch. I'm doing it in red because I wanted to be able to see what I'm doing once I turn this opacity back up. I just want to change that S because I can. I don't need to have a reason really. Just I like this S better. Alright. Obviously, I'd spend a bit more time with this and make sure all the, I guess the downstrokes and upstrokes are the same thickness, but didn't have time for that.
I just realized like how much I talk when I had my microphone on mute. Man, I never shut up. Got so many questions.
It's really good, actually.
Yeah, you got to focus for a second. There's a question, good question from chat. I think we'll ask before I mute myself again. Is red your go-to color to add a bit of like contrast and hierarchy in a piece?
I actually really like just black, white, and red in general as a combination. I just think it's really nice. The reason I used red here was because I thought I was going to be working so that I was going to have the cranium text in black, so I didn't want to be able to I wanted, I guess, separate it while I'm working on it, but then I'm just going to change it from red anyway to black for now. And I'm just going to create a solid color so I can change it to whatever I want quite easily. And I think I'm going to go gray actually. Get rid of that layer. Oops, don't do that. So get rid of these. Alright, so that's our little lockup for now. I'm going to do the same thing with the text. I'm going to create a solid layer color so I can change it a bit easier later. Switch that. Alright, so we've got our typography in there. And then I might go in and add some more other details. Maybe I want to I'm going to select a layer. I'm going to select this, and I'm going to go to select, modifier, contract, and I'll bring it in maybe 20 pixels. Yeah, that seems alright. I'll make another layer on top of that.
Wow, so that's how you do the outlines there. That was select.
Yeah, so I do a contract, so I'm selecting the whole letter and then bringing that selection in a little bit just so that instead of applying like a stroke or anything, but it's so I can do like some details in here. So I might get, and let's get a lighter red again. And then I might just grab this opacity and flow brush, make it big, and then set this to dissolve. And that will change. So we can put this, oh actually I picked the wrong color, I want darker red. So you can see that dissolve brush adds like, this is really rough, but you can see it's adding like a bit of grain to it, like texture. And just... so we can do that today. That would be our text. So now when I do this, I should be able to... yeah, so now I can kind of play with those tones. It's a little bit rough, but you kind of get the picture of what's going on here. And then I'll do the same with the brush. I might just add like a little bit of, not that you have to do this, but I think maybe just adding a little bit of like this contrast color will help lift it a little bit. For some reason it's, oh, sorry. Alright, and now, so that's our typography for there. We can turn off, I'll keep all these together. Actually, keep all of this together. Just put it in a folder, let's call it logo lockup, in case we need to pull it out and use it separately off the album. So now I've got it in one folder. I can just grab that and go place it anywhere. And now I've got like a little, I guess, a band logo lockup. It's probably half cooked at the moment, but that's fine.
We were talking about this last year in one of the other things when we were designing T-shirts, which you did design.
Yeah.
Actually, I should have worn it before on the show. But yeah, like talking about how you've created this artwork, you can take that lockup, and that like might be something that would fit really well on on the top pocket or on the side, or up the back, up the top or something. Like suddenly you've got two elements to kind of work with that could work together really well, and then also separately.
And and like leaving them all on their own layers and groups, you kind of have the power to pull it out without integrating it into the design and realizing that you've cut bits of the letter off and you can't see it. So always keeping it separate helps. Yeah. So I'm just going to start. Let me see if this works. No, I won't even try it. I was going to be really lazy and try to like just select inside, but the inking is too rough. So I'm going to start coloring in the skull. I'm going to start coloring, put a base color in. So I turn this back to normal. I just use the same brush that I use all the time. And because I'm drawing on white, let's just pick a color. So I've got this layer set up underneath. Obviously I've drawn with white in certain parts.
So you're just freehanding this behind the inking layer? Yeah,
so I would usually like spend a bit of time and make like a base layer of white under. I mean, this is probably not necessary for what we're doing right now, but because I'm so used to putting a white layer on t-shirts and stuff like that, I just put like it's a separate layer under the actual inking layer.
We were chatting before the jackhammer cut me off. We were chatting about typography, and you're chatting about animation, thinking, "Oh, I should get into that," and then I won't.
Yeah.
Typography is my thing because I spent a bit of time like with some typographers, people who create fonts, and I just thought, because we're in Australia, and I thought people tend to like it when we sort of show them local artists. There's an artist, I just shared his link in the chat if anyone's interested, Dave Foster. I interviewed him once talking about how long does it take to create a font, like the
How long
dumbest
was it,
question.
Flynn?
Like 4 years he spent
Four.
on his
See,
font, like on the one that he's like, my most successful font took me 4 years, and that's why it was the most successful.
wow.
I took that long, and I went, why does it take that long? He said, because you've got to do, there's so much more than the 26 letters. Like you got to do all the glyphs, you got to do all
Yeah,
the
correct.
accents, you got to do all the alphabets, you got to do all the weights.
So,
And yeah,
and then they like you can sell them online, right? Like you can sell them, but they have to be approved by like font foundries and things like that, right? Like,
you don't have to go through a font foundry.
Okay.
There are independent font designers. Like I think Foster Type that I shared just here, I think he's independent.
Okay.
I'll try to remember.
just
Johanna, maybe you can help me out. Who's the New Zealand? I was wearing his shirt today. I'll find him, and fantastic font designer from New Zealand that I should share.
So I'm just set. So I'm just setting base colors that. Alright. Base color for the skull is down, and then I'll do the same thing for the hands. I just pick any color that I can see really clear,
Nice.
and then I mean, I just realized I do this like a backwards way. Like you can probably create a mask and color and fill it in, but old habits die hard with me. They're just like, it's been a long time doing the same thing over and over again. It's hard to let new techniques in, and this way it makes me feel like I'm working really hard. Cancel all my meetings. I've got hands to color.
So just in chat, yeah, Franco, the person from New Zealand is Klim Type Foundry. So shared a link in there. Check that out. Hey, Hoodie said, I love your art. It's very cool.
Oh, thank you. And there's not a lot of elements I have to color, so this isn't going to take long. This is just the boring part.
This is the good part, right? Like, this is where you've done the base work and you get to kind of color in. Like, this is like seriously coloring in for adults. It's so good.
Well, yeah, this is one way to stay out of the house and stay out of trouble is just spend hours coloring and telling all your friends you're busy. All right, so I keep realizing I've put white instead of erasing in that ink layer. All right, so now I've got these base colors. The base colors can be whatever you want. Like, oh look, chat, if you want to tell us what color these things should be, then feel free. But I'm just going to go with colors that I like.
Where would you get colors from? Is this your process? You're like, I'll just sort of trial and error, play around with the sliders, that sort of thing? Do you have any rules?
Mine's definitely like just whatever kind of I'm feeling at the moment, at that one moment. Like I said, I don't think you can go to, I know there's, what's the Adobe Color? They generate some cool color combos and stuff like that, but I just kind of I get bored and I spend a little bit of time like mucking around with the colors just to just to kind of kill time almost and just experiment and learn on the fly. Like I
Yeah.
don't want everything to be too automated. I mean, like maybe I don't want a red rose.
Jeremy said, "Excuse me, color is not boring."
Oh, I know exactly who that Jeremy is. God, he's
Did
always
I say that or did you say that? Either way, we're in trouble. Um,
he's always trying to start trouble.
I don't mean it's boring if I said that.
No, look,
Very
it's
important.
colors. Color is important, and Jeremy, of all people, know that this is me coming a long way from when it was just black and white, purely black and white.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I remember. I think
This-
I think one of our first live streams. Yeah, you were pretty much just starting to experiment with adding more color because
Yeah.
like you're doing a lot of tattoos and things like that as well at the
Yeah.
same time. It's where a lot of your inspiration comes from. What did you do at that time? Did you look at other artists like Jeremy and other people like that and kind of go like try to pick
I
up
think,
where they, or you just experiment with different
yeah,
techniques?
for me it was kind of just like I needed to experiment more with color and yeah, you see the art scene kind of move in a direction, and it's kind of like it influences me a lot, like technique, styles, colors, and things like that. But it's always been just like just draw and practice and see what works for the piece or what works for me. And I don't know, I kind of just learning on the fly. But yeah, if you've got people around you in your circle that are really good with color, then it's good to like take inspiration from them guys as well.
Mm.
So can already like it already feels like it's coming to life a little bit. If chat does want to recommend some colors here, I'm open to suggestion.
Go for it, chat. Throw them in. I've got another question, technical
Yeah,
question
sure.
for Krista. So, what's the board size and image size that you're using since it's Photoshop and you're starting? Are you starting large and then downsizing? So, yeah, what size document would you
What do
normally
we
work
got?
at?
At the moment, we are working on. Oh, what is that? 419, 420 millimeters by 300 millimeters at 600. I don't know where that size came from, and that doesn't matter. But the 600, I always try to keep it at 600.
Yeah,
I feel like
so
that's
that's 600 DPI for everybody.
Oh yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
600 DPI,
Yeah,
and that's just for that exact reason. Just I'm not completely certain with how big this is going to be, but if I allow that extra 300, because we all know high res in terms of print is 300, right? 600 seems like it might be able to scale up a little bit or down nicely. If it was Illustrator, I wouldn't be too concerned.
yeah. That's of course because Illustrator works in vectors. We're
Vectors,
obviously
correct.
working in pixels here.
All right, so I'm going to do some like, just going to put some. We've already done the dark, the shadow. So I'm just going to like put a little bit of extra in here. But yeah, there was it's funny because I always said to myself like, black and white. You know, it's if you can make it work in black and white, then like it's a success because it's harder to get the depth and kind of, I guess, some of the tones that color can give you by just adding. Well, you can already see like how much it does to one piece. Like you automatically know there's like some shadows and stuff going on. But lately, I really enjoy the coloring process. I guess still learning. Like I definitely this is definitely the faster way of coloring. But then what I do like to do, and this is just something I've been doing lately, I really like in Photoshop. Like I do have a bunch of brushes that like I can use and, like pre-made stuff, but Photoshop has a lot of just standard stuff that I really enjoy using. So I'll go in and don't look too close at how rough this is, okay? Because it looks okay from out here.
It's funny talking about the brush. Like I know brushes often come up. I've found more times than not that a lot of the illustrators on either have one, possibly two favorite brushes, and a lot of the time it's just like the standard stuff that comes with the kit, which I find quite interesting because I know brushes were all the rage like back in the day. Like you needed to have this great brush, but it might be one of those things where you actually just need to practice rather than there's not really a silver bullet brush that's gonna fix everything.
I agree that there's definitely, everyone uses like they got their go-to brush, but I definitely think it's there was a time where I was like hunting for like the best of the best brushes and stuff like that. So there's still a time where I want those, like the really cool brushes, but most of the time I'm just like, this is just this is just the standard brush right now that I'm using, the soft round pressure opacity and flow. And I just set it to dissolve and it kind of gives like a little stipple effect. Like you can see it. I don't know how that's coming through, Flynn. Is that like, can you even see those, like the grain in it?
Zoom in a bit more. It's a bit subtle. I can see it on my big screen, but yeah, you can see it there now. So
can you see it there? So
you can see it now. Yep.
Sorry, I'm just like so spoiled over here.
It's got like all this room for days.
So I just like, it's literally like the most simple little, I guess, addition to like when I do the shading, but it takes it from being that really hard edge to like just a little bit. I don't know. There's something about the grain that gets added to it.
Yeah.
But I won't spend all day on these. I'll just keep moving. Because I also like to use another brush, which I'm pretty certain is a standard brush. So it's in, you can see there's like, I've got a couple of like bought brushes and things like that, but in this special effects brushes, which I'm certain is a standard set, it's got a couple of halftones and splatter brushes. But this one here, the Kyle's splatter brush, I know it says Kyle's, but I'm sure it's standard. When you hit this, I really like, especially on the typography. So I'm just going to come back down to typography and into my logo lockup. Find the right one. Alright. And then I just like adding a little bit of that. So if you press it light, it kind of splatters it. And then, so the harder you press, it comes out a bit scattered like that. But the lighter you go, it kind of builds up like that. So I like just adding a little bit of that to it, just to give it a little bit of that worn. And again, I'm doing this really quick, but because this is meant to sit on.
And are you painting on or erasing out? You're adding.
No, I just painted it on another layer. So it's really subtle. Like I'm not doing a lot, but I'm also like a little bit lost here. Alright, so I'm gonna just add. Now we've got our colors coming in. I obviously want this background. Kind of nice. Not all the way black, because it's still like, it's cranium blush. Like, alright, and that's just like a solid layer color there. I like just. Gonna create a mask on it.
Guys, we've got about 10 minutes left. So if anybody has any questions as we're going along, 10 minutes, that's all we got. Goes quick. You've done a lot in a short amount of time.
Look, it's almost, there wouldn't be, except for coloring and adding all the different, which we could probably do really quick. So I just spend time like, this is from a color perspective more than anything. Like I just spend time figuring out or the colors that I think belong in the right place here. Just throwing some for tones and stuff, and it's literally the same process all the time for me. I just do like a mid-tone, a kind of like a darker tone for obviously for the shadows and underneath there. And then I'd just go in again, like I said, so instead of having it look like 3 lines, I'll just get that brush again, dissolve it, and then come back down and kind of like blends it a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, it's cool. There was a question from Franco. Which are the main brushes that we all should have?
Like in terms of, I guess, what would help in most projects, I think just I honestly like. I strongly believe that like the standard brushes that you have in general brushes, the hard round and the soft round pressure, opacity and flow, they're the only ones I ever really touch. And I guess it's subject to kind of how you work or the kind of art you want to produce, you know, like I don't want to tell you that there's one that's a must, because it's different for everyone. Just adding some of this. I guess you can kind of see, like, as soon as you start adding all those tones into the piece, like it starts to grow, like and feel like more of a finished artwork. Oh. I just add.
There was talk before about creating a coloring book.
Oh, you know what? I always say that I want to. And again, I just get so smashed with like projects and stuff that personal projects, unfortunately, have to take a back seat. One day.
One day.
Yeah, one day.
Jeremy agrees with you as well with the brushes, like 100%. Standard is still king.
Yeah.
It's always fun to play with brushes, but I mean, of course, there's textures and stuff like.
Oh yeah.
You know, there's texture packs. Festus in chat has mentioned Carl T. Webster, who of course he works for Adobe now, but was basically famous for creating lots of texture packs and brushes and things like that. So there's still heaps of fun, and you know, there's lots of things to play with, and things that can, you know, add a lot to it.
Look, we're definitely not downplaying the craftsmanship that's in those packs either, because like they blow my mind when I see what he creates and what you can do with them. But I don't know. I think as an artist, you should be able to like make cool art with, you know, the most basic of tools. So it's up to you as an artist to kind of bring it out.
Johanna says, you've worked really fast well, she said wicked fast here today. How long would an album artwork usually take?
If I wasn't juggling multiple projects, I think it could be done in like less than a week. I definitely think I probably spend a lot more time on this stuff than probably I need to, but again, I like to make sure that it's the best I can deliver.
Yeah.
It's always hard to say how long something takes because I should just try to do one start to finish without any interruptions, but that just doesn't exist.
Yeah. That's true.
It's so hard to kind of put a time frame. I'm kind of this. It might not be a finished artwork by the end of this, but I think we can all agree that it's just about like building up some of these like high and low points.
Yeah. Super cool. I love our crowdsource name so much.
Yeah, no, cranium blush. Listen, add.
Probably got time for one more question. We've got about 3 minutes left as we go. I assume this is something that Owain has seen in your portfolio. How did Dale's Mambo Batman project come to fruition?
Oh, that was through a good friend of mine who has he's gotten me a few jobs over the years, some really cool ones, and I think that just came by knowing the right people actually, like
Always
kind of
does, right?
What is it? Yeah, right place, right time kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's actually hanging on my wall behind me because it was the first piece that I kind of got into. Well, ended up being sold in Big W and some retail stores here in Australia. But I was able to get it all the way to print with Batman and Mambo branding on it, but with my my name at the bottom of it. So
oh, that's
it's actually
cool.
it's got my name on it. My grandparents were very proud.
That's awesome. I know there was another question about something behind you. I may have missed it before. The blue thing or the purple thing behind you, a little figurine.
It's a kid robot, Money. It's called
Right.
Money, and it's just like he's my favorite little dude. I've had him for so long. You can kind of see what we're trying to get at here.
Yeah.
With the colors and building up of those colors and tones.
Man, it's awesome. Come like so far, like it's crazy. Like again, like we've only got about a minute and a half left, so maybe I think we'll just kind of recap like what we did today.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, sure.
Starting with the type, like grabbing that like just a standard font that looks pretty good. Thinking about it.
Yeah.
As the skeleton, and then building out from there and adding the details to it in a way that it works with the artwork. Do you always use like two fonts like that, like two contrasting fonts? Like, is there a reason?
Not all. I think it's kind of just like a preference thing. I don't always do it, but I have done it. Like that, if you look through my portfolio, it happens a lot. I kind of like the caps verse cursive as well. Like I just think it's a nice look.
Yeah, totally. And like making it your own and thinking about having the elements kind of separated. I'll do it this way, having the elements like separated so you can apply them to different things. You never really know what the client or you might want to use the artwork for, and just like thinking about that, like as you're building it in a smart way, that you can use those elements for different applications and even build from there. I think is something that is really valuable for us all to learn from you. But yeah, it's amazing, man. We're running out of time.
No, that's cool. I think it's the concepts there, and everyone understands kind of like building up and getting some dimension to the piece is important. But yeah, being considerate to, I guess, or considering those elements are really important. Like being able to separate the artwork and have this on an album cover or a t-shirt and have it as strong on each of them is really important. So that's why I always work in these composed, I guess, like little lock-up formats. It's just something I do and always have, but it works. So yeah, find what works for you.
It's awesome. We'll go out on that.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
awesome. No, you're very welcome. Thank you.
Always pleasure hanging out with you, Dale. And thank you, chat. You guys have been awesome. We'll be back next week on Tuesday here in Australia. But again, thank you so much, Dale, and we'll catch you all next week.
Thank you very much. See you guys.
See you guys.